Why should it matter what everybody else feels about my coming out? My coming out isn't about anybody else. It's about being myself and being who I am. If I'm coming to you and telling you who I am, you should be honored by that. It always baffled me that people would react in such an unkind way. I'm like, they're telling you who they are. You shut your mouth. You better be quiet. You listen to them. Even whenever I allowed myself to put myself in the category of bisexual, even then, I was still so unsure of how I even go about being queer. Like, I was like, what do I do? And then I think it was like one day I was like, you just be. Like, that's it. You don't have to do anything. You're queer. Just live. Just be you. That's it. Let's go. Yeah, I bet on myself. I started going to this gym and I made friends with a woman who was married and had 3 kids. And we bonded over the fact that she was in an unhappy marriage where she had been cheated on and they had tried to work through it, but she saw me living this life as a single mom of 3 kids. She and I had a drunk night together, out of the blue. We slept together, and that was my first one-on-one female experience, and that was the moment that I said to myself, there's no fucking way you are a straight woman, because you loved every fucking second of that. That felt normal. That felt right. Even if maybe it wasn't with the right person. I was not able to run from my feelings for women any longer because I had feelings for a woman and I had sexual attraction and I enjoyed being physical with a woman without a man being present. And I always told myself that my enjoyment was because they were enjoying it, but that's not why. There was no one else there. I wasn't able to use that excuse anymore, so I was forced to face like, wait, hold on, maybe it could be more than that. I used my relationships with men as a veil, as an excuse to be physical with women and not have to really face the reality of it. Even in the wake of realizing I was a queer woman and putting myself in the category of bisexuality, I still only allowed myself to date men, even though I had my dating apps open to men and women. My comfortability kept leaning back over to what I was used to. What's funny is that I think that my TikTok knew that I needed to be eased into my very, very gayness because it started out by showing me bisexual content. And that's actually whenever I started wondering about myself. And I was like, I'm relating to what these women are saying. And then my sexual experience happened, and then there was that very solidifying moment. And then within like a couple months, I started getting the videos on TikTok of, I thought I was bisexual, and now I'm a lesbian. And I was like, I'm relating to what they're saying. Wait, hold on. So it was almost like TikTok was like, we're gonna get you there, but we're gonna do baby steps first. Because we know that you've been fighting this for 32 years, so we realize that you need steps. I actually for a while wondered if I was pansexual. Like maybe it's not the physicality, maybe it's not the body, the form that I am attracted to, it is the soul of the person. And all it took was me forcing myself to stop relying on outside sources to tell me who I am, me forcing myself to not rely on dating to make me happy. I still had things I needed to process. I didn't like me. I portrayed that I did, but I didn't really like me. It took allowing myself to do the self-reflection, do the inner work, do the healing to have the confidence to put myself in the lesbian category. I don't know what I was so terrified of, but I was terrified. I'm still scared of women because I have not had my first female relationship yet. Right now, I'm in the process of almost trying to start from scratch and rebuild myself from the bottom up. And I didn't even realize that's what I was doing until I started doing it. I have slowly cut out the friends that I realized were toxic friends. When I first came out of the closet, I was very quickly shoved back in that closet by a friend who I called and reached out to. And the verbiage and the energy that I was given was, well, but are you sure though? Because you've dated men your whole life. So like, it was very dismissive. I kind of went back in the closet for a moment. I went into that heteronormative mode again, but it didn't work for very long. I was able to be like, no. I came across this TikTok once that said, the reason why you attract emotionally detached people is because you are emotionally detached. I was like, I love love. I don't know what you're talking about. And then I slowly started to peel it apart. I never allowed myself to become emotionally connected to women. Now I am building these true, real female friendships that I never had before. Not toxic, mean girl type energy, the energies that I was attracting before. And in doing that, maybe I can figure out whenever my feelings for a woman are actually romantic, or if it is like from a friendship standpoint. I never allowed myself to view women romantically, so every emotion I ever felt, even if it was a romantic feeling, I placed as friend, I placed as platonic. And so now I don't know how to place it. If I am able to build those female friendships and I'm able to understand the difference and I'm able to feel those deep love feelings in a platonic way and then be able to take that out into the world and differentiate the two, then I can understand myself better and I can understand that feeling better. But whenever you've never allowed yourself to label it accurately, been able to allow yourself to feel your feelings authentically, you don't know how to identify them. The fear I feel when it comes to women now has nothing to do with me being in fear of being a lesbian. It's an excited fear because I never gave myself permission to be a lesbian. So now I get to go on that adventure and live my life the way that I should have always been living my life. The transition from dating men and then dating women, coming from the mentality of this is what I'm supposed to do, this is how it's supposed to be. And so you're having to retrain your brain from a different perspective. This idea that we're sold about there's supposed to be a masculine and a feminine energy in a relationship ties into that compulsive heteronormative mentality where you believe that it has to be masculine and feminine, man of the house and the woman. But what does it look like whenever there is two strong feminine energies in that household? That also plays into learning about what femininity and masculinity mean, because people have made them into something they're not. A woman is not allowed to be masculine, you're right, or a man is not allowed to be feminine, and that's just so incredibly ignorant because they're not tied to one gender. It's not a one-size-shoe-fits-all. Feminine and masculinity are not opposites, right? Like it's something that coexists in one person. It's something that someone is capable of both things. They're able to have a masculine and a feminine energy. At times they can have both at the same time. It's a beautiful thing. Before, when I was dating, I didn't have any care for the person that I was bringing into those relationships. Because even though the relationships didn't work out, even though some of them were toxic, I had my own part to play in a way because I had unhealed, unprocessed stuff. I just kind of blindly dove head first in every direction possible, not ever putting any effort into myself, not any effort into knowing who the fuck I am. It's really ironic that now I actually care about the person that I am going to take out into my lesbian dating life. I want to fully form that person. I want to feel secure in every piece of myself that I bring into another relationship with somebody. I am on the path of trying to put a lot of work into me in order to have a better sense of myself. That's what I'm missing, is a sense of grounding in who I am. You can be happy and you can be whole completely on your own. You do not need anybody else to enter that equation in order to be a whole version of yourself. That's one of the most beautiful, most profound, most wonderful gifts I've given myself, is that realization that I didn't need anybody else in order to love myself and in order to feel like I have worth in this world, you know? I don't have to rely on anybody else to tell me that I matter and that I'm worthy, because I get to give that to myself. I don't need anybody else to tell me that. And it's a wonderful gift to give yourself, is to not have to depend on others for your happiness. You know?
Why the tears then?
They're happy tears. They're tears of being so relieved that I finally got to this place in my life where I'm actually happy And I actually like myself, and I actually love myself. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of the person that I present to the world. And for the longest time, I would watch other people live that and feel that, and I just always thought, like, that's just not for me. That's just not who I am. And so to be able to actually feel that and not bullshit feel that, not Instagram feel that, actually be fucking happy and not need to rely on other people is just, it's so wonderful. So it was just happy tears. So I am very proud of myself, and it's taken me a very long time to say that and mean it. No one's queer journey is going to be exactly the same. It's not fair to tell someone that they're not allowed to own their queerness because they haven't had a relationship. That's not fair. That's almost the same thing as the outside world saying being gay is wrong. It's the same premise. Telling people what they are or aren't based off of your own perspective, and that's just bullshit. That came out a little bit more aggressive than I intended it to. Allowing myself to be vulnerable and be open and actually feel my feelings and not be afraid to dive headfirst into those feelings and try to understand them and not run from them. It kind of goes hand in hand with the idea that you can only do so much work outside of a relationship. You have to eventually start then actively doing the work, doing it in practice in a healthy relationship. While I can do as much grappling as I want to on the outside, I won't be able to fully really get there until I do start dating women. I am very excited to one day be able to finally have a healthy relationship and have someone that I can actually call a partner and bring someone into my life that is there because I want them there, because I choose them and they choose me. One of the most wonderful things I've ever heard was this idea of how love is supposed to just be everlasting. It's like, well, anger's not everlasting. The other emotions aren't everlasting. They don't sit there forever. They come and go. So love isn't going to be constant. Love isn't going to be something that you necessarily feel every day. So it's someone that you are choosing every day. It's someone that you are waking up every day and you are choosing them and they are choosing you. You don't have to love that person every single minute, every single second, because that's just not possible. But if you are choosing that person. And so I very much look forward to choosing that person and them being in my life and I'm being in theirs, because we add to it, because we build each other up, because we push each other to be the best versions of ourselves, not because we are codependent on each other. I look forward to bringing that version of myself into a relationship. What I love so much is the fact that I'm getting the opportunity to give my kids the parenting that I never got. In doing that, I'm able to give my daughter the confidence to be a strong woman and not tell her that she needs to stifle that sassiness. No, you can't be sassy. You can't have a personality and attitude, and you can't have a voice. You better quiet that down. So my kids are 9, 7, and 4. The way that I go about talking about this with my kids is normalizing it. When they say things like, "Mom, when are you gonna get married again?" They'll mention it in the context of husband. And then all I say is, or a woman, that's it. Like, the fact that people try to make it so complicated, trying to explain queerness to children, it's not actually complicated at all. And you would see that if you actually spoke to children. For instance, my brother is gay as well. And he was bringing his boyfriend home for the first time for Christmas. He was the one that was worried. He was like, "Megan, like, what are we gonna say to the kids? Like, what?" And I was like, "We're gonna tell them it's your boyfriend." And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Just don't worry about it." "Oh, uncle is bringing home his boyfriend." And they said, "His boyfriend?" And I said, "Yeah." And they just said, "Not a girlfriend." And I said, "Yeah, boyfriend." And they were like, "But," and I said, "Sometimes people date the same sex, sometimes people don't." Literally, they were like, "Okay." That's it. I make it weird almost. Like, I'm trying to communicate too hard and they're like, "Okay, we don't care." Like, stop. Leave us alone. We stopped listening 5 minutes ago. It's not a huge complicated conversation because it's literally just who you love People are dumb. People are ignorant. People are... Ugh. When I came out on TikTok, I didn't get backlash. I was afraid of backlash. I was genuinely afraid, and I actually didn't come out on TikTok for a while because I was afraid of that. But it was met with cool, like, high five. Congratulations. I was met with an outpour of love. I think the reason why my TikTok took off the way that it has is because of my authenticity. And I say that from the place of hearing feedback from people, because that seems to be the constant feedback across the board that people comment on is my authenticity. The first time I ever heard that phrase, unapologetically yourself, I was like, that is what I want to be. That is what I strive for. TikTok has really, really helped me to find my voice. What's funny is that I'm audibly processing. I've done so much healing via the videos that I put on TikTok and the responses that I get, because you can put something out and you're so afraid that people aren't going to relate to it, people aren't going to understand you, but then you get an outpour of people who are like, oh my God, yes. And it's incredibly validating, especially whenever you are someone who never had a voice because you were people pleasing. I realized that it's not the story itself necessarily, it's all the pain and the hurt and all the things that come along with that is where you find your connection to people. That's how you are able to draw people in, is because you're saying the quiet part out loud. We are starting to do the deconstruction of that compounded thought process. When are we going to stop just passing down the trauma and passing down this very emotionally disconnected world that we live in, where people just seem to be so wrapped up in their own stuff, but it's almost from a place of like not being able to face the really hard stuff in the world. There's been this like very massive shift in the universe. You can really start to see how things are changing. Things are crappy over here because there's all the crappy people, but then there's the people. It's like there's always gonna be the crappy people. Can we just put them on an island? I really hope people take from your series the courage to just be themselves and have the strength to face the world unapologetically.